The Hive podcast with my guest, Sam Shabot. I'm Brian Wright. So, Sam, I brought you in here because we connected. You were training over at Killer Bee for a while.
Yes.
But you were doing it when I wasn't there. So we really never connected. And then by chance, you were talking to my mother. One thing leads to another. We have a conversation. I find out you have an interesting story, and here we go.
Let's do it. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. So the thing that got us really talking was your business. So why don't you introduce yourself, your business, let everybody know what you've got going on.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Sam Shabot. How am I doing with this mic, by the way?
You're good, man.
Okay.
You're good.
Yeah, so I'm a 22-year-old kid, originally from Brooklyn, New York. Moved out here to Jersey. It was a very long journey, like getting to this point.
It's not that long. You're only 22, bro.
It felt like 3 lifetimes. Yeah. I mean, I always had a passion for coffee shops and like bringing people together and things of that nature.
Which is first, coffee or bringing people together?
Bringing people together.
Yeah.
For sure. Yeah.
And then how does coffee get involved?
So I was telling you at the shop, I was in Israel living there for a year, and I had to learn the language because I was planning on drafting to the army. And so I moved out to the city, Tel Aviv. So I was hitting a different coffee shop every day.
Is coffee big there?
Massive.
Okay.
Yeah, massive.
I've been a lot of places, but I haven't been there.
Yeah, you should go.
Everybody tells me Tel Aviv's like the spot too.
You got the beach, you got the clubs, you got the bars, best restaurants.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great culture.
So you're there and you're thinking about you're going in the military, you got to learn the language, you're hitting all the coffee shops, you're in this like hip city. And
so I'm like, I had to like start my day on a good note. So I would hit a different coffee shop every single day, just trying to connect with the locals. So I would hit another one every day until I found my right spot. Once I found the spot, he was playing Jack Johnson music. He's my guy, Jack Johnson. So we became boys, and he would take me to the back of the bar, pull espresso shots. You know, we were having a good time. And so he taught me how to turn a space of customers to family. And that was his biggest accomplishment. Aside from the numbers, like we didn't really get to jump into that, and I wasn't so focused on it at the time. Mm-hmm.
I gotta ask you another question while we're talking about, because it's like, okay, you're born here?
Yeah, in New York.
All right. So what makes you want to go back to Israel and be in the army?
So I'm Jewish.
Of course.
Yeah. Yeah.
But what makes you want to be in the Israeli army?
It's a loaded question.
It's not loaded.
I don't know, to be honest with you.
So how old are you when you decide, like, I want to be in the Israeli army?
I was 17.
Is it national pride or is it the challenge? Or both?
Both.
So why did you feel you needed a challenge like the military at that point in your life?
You know, I never pinpointed it. I think there was a lot of ego there too.
Okay.
I was also always someone who needed to take the beaten path.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Everyone's going here, I'm going there.
Yeah.
And that was just like, I love to be in extreme situations because it kind of forces me to be like fully there. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying?
I get that 100%.
Yeah. So I also have a big passion for traveling. So it kind of just checked off all the boxes.
So you go there though, if you're in the military, how long are you going to be in the military if it works out?
Right. So there's a lone soldier program that is a minimum 18 months. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you're Israeli, you got to be in the army for at least 2 years, 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was going to take that 18-month program.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you like to travel, you like to take a different path. I'm just like the military thing sticking in my head because that's such a rigid path. Like, yes, you're going to be challenged, but that's such a commitment. Your life is not yours while you're in there. You're going to be told what to do. You don't seem like somebody that likes to conform to other people's ideas.
Most definitely not.
So that's why it's such an interesting thing for me is how do you go from being this little bit of a wanderer, challenging person to, okay, I want the rigidity of the military. It didn't work out. I don't know why. You don't have to say, it's up to you. But
Right.
but it's still, that's such a interesting thought to have from where it sounds like you're coming from.
Yeah, I haven't quite pinpointed it yet.
Okay.
Yeah.
So your upbringing though, what gave you the wanderlust? Where does that come from? Did you travel with your family? Like where's the wanderlust come from?
It's a good question.
Do you consume content? Is there a movie that resonated? Something you read? Is there like I read Jack Kerouac when I was 18 years old, and all I wanted to do was buy a car and drive cross country. You know, like there's certain things that hit us. Like I don't know, like and I traveled a lot as a kid. My mom did a lot of international business, so early on I started to travel myself, and that gave me the travel bug. I like hotels, I like to travel, I like eating in restaurants. Like as a kid, like that kind of got in my DNA, and it's just never left me. And that's I think why I ended up in the profession that I'm in.
Right.
But you know, so like I'm just curious because you're 22, you may not figure it out for a while, but it's just so interesting because you know you're growing up in New York. You're in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
So you're like, you feel like a lot of people from Brooklyn, they don't wander because they feel like Brooklyn's everything. They don't want to leave. And when they do, they're miserable and they go back. You seem like the guy that left and you want nothing to do with it.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
I
gotta give
that.
it to my father, I think.
Okay.
My father is probably the most creative guy like I know. He was always traveling. Like he was founder of Sprayground. I'm sure you heard of it. I told you about it.
My son is got a spray ground bag right now.
Hey, let's go. Yeah. So he was always traveling and connecting with people, collaborating.
He's going to China probably for like manufacturing. Yeah,
sure.
And so was he from the creative end of it, the corporate end of it? Where was he on it?
Creative, but at the same time, he went in solo and he had to make it work. He's not like fully business centric.
Gotcha.
It's not really where he wants to be.
Was he like a street style guy? How do you create Sprayground?
Yeah, so he saw a massive gap in the backpack market at the time. It was all black and white JanSport backpacks. At the same time, everyone in New York was spray painting the trains, right? The subways.
It's graffiti time.
It was graffiti time. And
how old's your dad, by the way?
He is 52.
All right. I'm 50. So your father and I mean, I know the culture he knows.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, he's listening to the Beastie Boys and Run DMC, and he's probably like KRS-One and all this stuff back in that time. I mean, we're talking, what was the graffiti movie too. It like changed culture. I can't remember the name right now, but like, yeah, graffiti was like the thing. I mean, I went to art school back in the day, and like graffiti, that was the guys that were kind of following like the pop alternative culture. That was like all graffiti based. So like, yeah, no, it was a massive influence on us. I grew up here. I'm an Ocean Township kid. Yeah, Ocean Township kid.
Nice.
Yeah.
So graffiti was hot over
graffiti there? For like, but from a creative standpoint, that was like the thing. That was, you know, this is Michael Jordan with Air Jordan, and like this is Spike Lee and all this time. Like this is New York hip hop culture.
Right.
Yeah, that's your father. Like, I mean, he was in the epicenter of it, and he created a brand that represented it on a global scale. I mean, it's insane. That's Sprayground's a monumental company. I don't know if you realize how monumental it is.
I know.
But that's a big footprint.
I actually worked in a Sprayground store in Israel.
Okay.
I took the night shift there, yeah.
Nice.
Wait, so let me tell you the story. Let's run it back. So he saw the white space in the market, clearly, and then he also saw what was going on in the graffiti world. And I believe the city was starting to crack down on the artists.
Mm-hmm. Because this is Giuliani's time comes in, and he cleans the whole city up.
Right. So my dad's like, okay, like I want to give these people an outlet. And so he started, it was like a breakdancing competition on the cardboard in Coney Island. And like everyone, like Coney Island gave him like all the boards, so like everyone was spray painting on the boards, and they did some sort of competition. Whoever had the best piece of art got to paint a bag.
That's awesome.
And then they were going to manufacture it and go, bust it out to the world. It was called Tattooed at the time. I'm not sure what went south with that company, but eventually he found an artist on the streets. His name is DBD. He was in art school at the time, and they became partners. My dad was the salesman, production. DBD was the artist.
And your community has a lot. I mean, there's nothing but Garmentos in your community. So if you want to make a backpack or clothing,
yeah.
I mean, you've got the full pipeline from the manufacturing, distribution, everything's all right there.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. So he built it, and was it more like community centric that he built a company with? Did he
Not
use
at
people?
all. No, he was deep in the hip hop community.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. So you're like, you grow up in this Brooklyn community, but your dad is like, he's from it, but he's
out there.
He's out there.
Yeah.
So it's pretty clear to me. I think I know where you get your drive from.
Yeah, I mean, at the same time, I grew up very sheltered.
Okay.
Yeah. So I knew, like, he would take me to like the Iman Shumpert shoot when they did a collaboration, and like I'm seeing all these people, like, but he kind of kept that whole world away from me. I was very young at the time.
Yeah.
But I guess I always had that curiosity.
You have brothers and sisters?
Yeah.
How big is your family?
I got an older brother, 2 younger sisters.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're the number two?
I'm the number two.
Oh my God, you're the wild one. The number.
Nah.
The number two is the trouble. My number two, oh my God, my number two is Wreck-It Reed, man. My number one is like this peaceful little angel. Number two,
right.
Woo!
Number one's wild though.
Your number one's
Yeah.
wild? Okay, so you guys flipped it. Usually it's number one's chill, number two's a nightmare.
Right.
All right, so it flipped in your house. So are you raised by your mom?
Nah, both equally, I'd say.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so your dad's coming home, but he's not bringing work with him.
We grew up with the Syrian Jewish tradition.
Okay.
So like they always like let
Did
that
you go to
first.
Did you go to the private school and everything too?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did.
So is it the Hillel? What do
No,
they call
Hillel's
it?
here.
But what do
That's
they
in
call
Jersey.
What do they call school there?
Yeshiva.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So you growing up rigid.
Not too rigid, you know?
But it's private school. It's not public school.
Exactly,
It's you're still in an insular community upbringing.
Yeah, I didn't feel rigid at the time. Like,
Well,
I didn't
because
feel
because all you
that's what I
know.
knew.
That's all you know.
Right.
That's the crazy part about it. When you're young, like people, a lot of times they criticize how we are when we're young, and it's like we only know what we know. Like if you haven't seen the world, you don't know it exists.
Right.
You know, and then when you see stuff, and then you interact with it. When you're old enough to make choices is when it matters. And that's when it all changes. Like we don't get to make our own choices in the beginning. We go where our parents tell us to go, and we trust them, and we trust their opinions and their ideas, and those are our opinions and our ideas in the beginning. But then we have our own, and if the parents do a good job, we have the confidence to explore our own stuff. And if they're cool parents, they're going to support you as you explore it.
Right.
You know, so it's an interesting cycle. But man, so you're coming, but it's like, it's weird. So you have like that duality because you have your insular community, but your dad's into some cool shit. So like, yeah, you got your foot in both. You understand both. So you have the community you grew up in, but you also have, you have eyes on other things.
Right.
So that's cool. It's interesting. You know, not everybody sees it and wants to go after it. A lot of people will sit in the community and look, but they don't want to go after it. They just look, you know, and then some people have to venture out. So, you know, that's the interesting part, you know, and that's the part I feel like that's when you if you're writing your story, that's where the most interesting aspects of it are, because it's your story now, you know. And that's what's cool about it. And the reason, like when we were talking before, I said I want to bring you on. You were like, why would you want me to come on? And like, honestly, I opened up my first business at 24. I opened up my first martial arts school at 24 years old. And everybody said, what the hell are you doing? you know, the world around me was like, you're too young, you're too inexperienced. Why would you try to do something like this? But I'd seen the world a lot at that point too. I've traveled, I'm educated, I'm an international level competitor. I'm doing something that nobody in my area is doing. Like, there's a ton of martial arts schools, but no one's fighting in Japan. No one's fighting in Europe. Nobody's fighting professionally like what I'm doing. And they don't even know what I'm doing. So I have people that don't know anything, but have high titles and black belts, and they're all talking shit because who's this new guy and who does he think he is? But I'm looking at all of them going, you have no idea what's going on out there. So I need to bring what's out there to here. And this is what I have to do. And that was like the thing that gave me the confidence at an early age to have the audacity to say, yeah, I'm going to be an entrepreneur now. I'm not going to wait until I'm 35 or 45. I'm going to start now. Because those 35, 45-year-olds, they can't even keep up with what I'm doing now. Could you imagine what I can do if I start and get going? Let's see where it could go. So I had that drive and I had that audacity. You know, I didn't have business partners. I started out with a bank loan. I went to, I think it was PNC Bank, and I got a $10,000 bank loan from PNC. That was my down payment and my mats. I had no budget for anything, and I just literally, mats, down payment, started. I literally had to work to pay my rent for the first couple of years because I couldn't even, because I had no students, I had nothing, I just had drive.
You're a one-man show?
That's it, it's just me. It was me and an idea and a mat, and started off, and then eventually like the students came and the business grows, and then you figure it out. I'm not the kind, like, I don't think you have to know everything to do something. You have to have the fight in you so that when the struggles come, you'll figure it out. You can't have quit and you and be an entrepreneur. You can't, or you're going to die because you're going to run into like 2 or 3 problems, then you're going to run away screaming. No, this is nothing but problems, but they're your problems. That's the amazing part about it. It's a problem you created and now you have to solve. You're not working for somebody else. It's not 9 to 5 with somebody saying, hey, I need you to do this. No, I chose this. And off of my choices and my efforts, I'm going to get something. That's all I ever wanted. I used to sit on a school bus when I was a kid. I tell a story a lot. I used to sit on a school bus straight through high school, and I would see people in cars, and I was just like, I want to be them. I felt like a prisoner. I felt like I was being taken to jail every day. School was a nightmare. I hated it. Hated every second of it. And I was good at it, which sucked. Like, I was a straight A student, and I like barely tried. I wanted to be an F student. I wanted them to kick me out. I didn't want to have to be there. Like, but you know, as a kid, you don't have control. You got to do those things. And like all that pent up energy, and then my experience, and then this big world looming out there. That's why when I got the opportunity to say, you know what, I'm out of your system. I'm into my life now. When that opportunity came, I just ran with it. And that's what I think is so cool.
How'd you get that opportunity?
I made it myself, man. I literally made it myself. I just got to a point where I said, fuck, I'm over it. I'm done. I'm in college. I'm 6 months away from graduating. I'm going to the Maryland Institute College of Art. I'm in like the MIT of Fine Arts. They have like, I don't even know, it's like a couple hundred students in the place. It's one of the hardest places to get into. That's a whole nother story. But I get into this place, I'm there. I mean, people would kill to be in the position that I'm in. And I just got to a point where I was like, okay, education ran its course for me. I'm done. I got to start living. I don't want to be tied down to one place, somebody else's schedule, doing this thing. I'm competing a lot. I'm fighting. And I just, like, this is what I want to do. I want to do my own art. I don't want to do the art that the teachers want me to do. I want to do my own. I don't want to have the job that I need to be able to pay for my school anymore. I want to go. I want to see the world. I want to do stuff. I had an opportunity to go fight overseas. I went and fought overseas, and I was like, yeah, I like this. This is what I like, and this is what I want to do. Right. And then I changed everything.
So you didn't see light out of the tunnel as far as being your own artist. Like, why didn't you just leave and do your own art and open up your own art studio?
No, but I wanted to do both, but I never stopped. So I started doing martial arts when I was 6. Like, I started doing karate at 6 years old, and I just never stopped. And to this day, it's the same energy for me. You put me in I stand in my studio and I paint, it's the same energy as if I'm standing on the mat teaching class or sparring or whatever. It's the same to me. So if I'm not in the gym, I start to feel this need to paint more. if I'm not painting, I feel a need to be in the academy. Like it's the same vibe for me. It's a problem solving creative space for me. One, I'm doing it with materials and colors and compositions. The other, it's the interaction I have with the human being that I'm trying to mold into something. So,
wow.
someone told me like Michelangelo had a thing. He said that, I don't even know if he said it, it's attributed to him, but he said that when he looks at a block of marble, he doesn't turn it into the sculpture. He thinks the sculpture exists in the marble and he's just chipping away the layers. That hit me at like 12, I hear this, and that never left me. So I look at every project as kind of like this creative process of getting to the core of it all. Look, we're talking about your food. Your food is about the beauty of simplicity. And that is the thing, like, how do we chip away the excess to get to the beauty of the ingredient? And that's the thing that's what excites me the most. Like, with a sword, you're trying to get it so it's so sharp you can cut with one stroke. You don't want to be hacking away all day. You want to see the beauty of like that perfect action with the perfect tool, with the right timing, everything. And that's what we strive for. If we're on the path long enough and we really care about success, we all end up in that kind of mentality where we're trying to find the perfect stroke that makes everything happen. And I don't give a shit if you're making coffee and food, or you're teaching people how to fight, or you're painting a painting, whatever. It's always that struggle. Like, how do we get this to like that perfect spot? Everybody's got a million names for it, the zone, Zen space, whatever. But you commit yourself to anything long enough, we all start having the same intention if we actually get good at it. So that's why when we were talking, and like there's just so many terms we touched on, and like from intention to simplicity to community to getting beyond the borders of what maybe we were born into and just knew. Like there's so much commonality in that story that was what was so interesting about this for me.
Yeah.
So, wow. And like the military things, the reason it kind of resonates, because it's like, it goes so against a lot of the stuff we're talking about. But at the same time, when I was growing up, I would see the military too. It was like the challenge of that. Like, can I do that? Because you look at them when you're young, it's like, oh, they're doing like that superhuman shit. They're not going to quit. It's life and death. I kind of feel that if we grow up in a way where we feel we're sheltered, that allure of the life and death concept is kind of like that it's attractive, because I don't even know the word I'm looking for, but like there's a level of comfort and complacency that starts to happen when you're stuck in an insular sitch. And I keep using that word for your community, but I went to Catholic school.
Yeah.
I'm in the same boat. I'm in the same boat. We're all stuck in these boxes at a certain point. And everybody's telling you what you're supposed to be and what you're supposed to do. And you're like, at some point you're frustrated and you're a young man and you're like, I just want to kill shit. It's like legit. It's like, I want to shoot guns and jump out of planes. Right. And I want to be like the guy in the movie. Like, I don't want to be you anymore. Right. I don't want what you have. I want something different.
You want to be engaged. You want to feel alive.
Exactly.
That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah. And then, you didn't get to do the military path, but you have this experience now. So you have this idea, the idea doesn't come to fruition. Now you've seen the world a little bit, because you get out of New York, you go to Israel, you see this cool city, you meet these cool people, yeah. You get introduced to like what the idea of developing community is and all that. So like what makes you have the balls to keep going now? Like, because you could see it and you could be a patron. You literally could be a consumer. You could just go drink coffee at cool places and know people. Now, why do you want to make your own community? Like, what happens now?
Right. Wait, could I circle back?
Yeah, of course.
I want to know what it was like, before we talk about me.
Oh, Jesus. Okay.
I want to know what it was like when, you mentioned when we sat at the cafe, somebody saw you fighting locally, and offered you the opportunity to go fight overseas in some other promotion. You ended up in Japan. You solo?
That's like the weird aspect of my life, is that So you talk about sheltered, right?
Right.
So that can mean a lot of things. I feel that in my upbringing, I'm not going to say necessarily sheltered, as I was walled off in a lot of ways. The way my family dynamic was, it was I wasn't really being raised to be social. I was being raised to be a little bit solitary. I'm an only child growing up. My parents are divorced. I spent the weekends with my dad. I spent Monday to Friday with my mom. So it was like I had mom time, I had dad time. There wasn't a lot of me time. So like there was a lot of me figuring out how to find myself in my time. So I really wasn't social. Like I didn't have a big friend network. It was me and my ideas and what I wanted. So when I had the opportunity to kind of break free on stuff, I didn't develop community at first. I really did do a lot by myself. And then even when I had my community, there was what I did with them, but I still went and did my thing. So yes, I fight in this event. I have a guy comes and taps me on the shoulder and I'm like, I saw you on TV. And he was like, I just saw you and I want you to come and be a part of what we're doing. And it was like, I had a really interesting opportunity just come my way from being good at what I was doing. At the right time, the right place, and I got recognized by somebody, and that opened doors. And then I'm going to Switzerland, I'm going to Holland, I'm going to Japan, I'm going to Australia, I'm going all over the place.
Are you training or are you jumping straight into the ring?
Well, I've been training my whole life, so
right.
I'm training, but then I go into deep waters, and then I think I know what I'm doing, and then I realize I don't know shit. I'm not big enough, I'm not strong enough, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. These guys are animals, these people are like monsters, and I'm just getting battered on a daily basis.
Are you fighting in the same, like were there weight classes at the time? Or
so the problem was for me is K1 is where I went, and K1 is, they had heavyweight and they had lightweight. I couldn't be a 155er, and heavyweight was over 200. So I'm really a 185er at best, but I'm walking around at 210, 215. So I'm like, I guess I'm a heavyweight because I'm not making 55. So yeah, man, I'm like stuck now. Now I'm fighting heavyweight. So I'm fighting in open weight, basically divisions, and I'm having to fight guys a lot bigger than me. And I was always the small guy, so I had to have really good movement. I had to be really, really tough, and I had to have cardio for days. So I had a real challenge. So training was so important for me because like my conditioning had to be on point because I couldn't run out of gas. I had to get battered quite a bit because I had to be able to take the hits, and it was not an easy position for me to be in. I was right place, right time to get the experience, wrong place, wrong time to become some kind of great champ. I was never destined to be a high level guy in a scenario like that. I was always a tough go. I was a great partner, and I was developing into a good coach right from the beginning. I mean, the allure for them was not just that I could fight well, it was that I could recognize talent in other people. That's always been a gift for me. I've always been able to read people. And I think that's because of a lot of my solitary sitch, because I did so much reading of the world. I was a very observant kid. And just the fundamentals of human nature have just been something that I've understood. So I understand people, I understand body mechanics. It is what it is. But yeah, I had a guy come to me and was like, yeah, you want to do this thing? And then he becomes kind of my mentor in the situation from the technical side of it. And his name was Arnie Solwadell, was the main guy that became my guy, because Andy Hoog's fight team, Andy Hoog was like this world-renowned fighter. He died of leukemia right after I got involved. So I'm part of Andy's team, and then Andy dies. And then I'm working for Arnie, and Arnie works for the Japanese, and like that's like with K1 and everything starts to like develop. So that was like really, which took me from being a guy who was fighting internationally but based locally to like now I'm at a very high level internationally with a lot of big fish. It was wild. Just really interesting time. Wow. But my talent is what got it for me, and that was the thing that I always thought was so interesting. I was doing things that brought attention to myself, which was good. And it wasn't shit talking. There was no social media. It was literally, I was fighting in a way that other Americans were not. And that's why I got a nod. I got the tap from.
What were you, like, what was the Like, was it MMA or was it Muay Thai?
So it was full contact karate, which is bare knuckle, no pads, by the way, and it's knockout, not points. So we're full contact to the legs, body, and head, and the only way to score a point is to knock somebody down or knock them out. It's not karate like point karate. This is full contact karate. Brutal sport. And kickboxing and Muay Thai. That's what I'm primarily doing. Yeah. And I fought MMA before it was MMA. They called it NHB. So we started off, there was shoot fighting. So shoot fighting, you had no gloves. You could hit everything, but you had to hit with an open hand. So I'm doing these like pancrase rules, shoot fighting fights. I'm doing NHB, which is closed-fisted MMA fights. I fought in Australia in a fucking crazy-ass tournament in NHB back in 96, I think it was there. It was right around the Sydney Olympics. I flew to Sydney and I fought in this big international NHB event and got a bad concussion, broke my hand. It was a fun time. Nice. But I was able to experience a time where martial arts were kind of like, you were a traditional guy, you were a kickboxer, you were a wrestler, you were a judo guy. Like everybody was kind of in their box. And then it was all kind of being mushed together because this NHB thing started to become popular, and then the UFC really starts to blow up, and then it officially becomes MMA. And even for the first decade of the UFC, we still were not really MMA. It was a place where specialists and styles are still fighting, and then eventually we all have to get good at everything because it's evolving to this thing. So yeah, it's wild. I've been very fortunate that I've been able to compete at a high level in everything that I did. And I was able to survive the multiple transitions. I've always been progressive that way, where I'm not orthodox about what I do. I'm very much, I have a base set of skills and principles, and we apply them wherever they need to be applied. So if it's boxing, or if it's kickboxing, or if it's MMA, or if it's jujitsu, whatever, you have to be adaptable that way if you want to survive in this business. And that's why, I mean, I'm 26 years doing what I'm doing, and I've put people on every major show that's ever come about in that time. But that was because of the mindset and the intention that I had in the beginning. Because at 24 years old, I said I want to create an international powerhouse in a 1,200 square foot space in Oakhurst that's on the second floor of a building behind a building with no signage.
Hold that. Wait, did you know, like you saw it in your head, that you were going to build something international, get people in the biggest promotions? I mean, the promotion wasn't even there at the time.
Well, if there was overseas, there was stuff overseas that nobody knew about.
Right.
But I'm reading the Japanese magazines going, that's where I want to be. I had audacity from the beginning, my man. Like, I never wanted to be a local hero. I never wanted to be known here. I don't care about who knows me here. That's why like the politics of like things never bother me. Because I'm like, I had a fighter, Jimmy Lawson fought in St. Louis. We go to St. Louis. The first day we get there, we go to lunch. A lady comes up to me. You that guy that corners people in the UFC? He's like, I'm fucking fighting. How do they know you? And I'm like, I don't know. And then we go to lunch. And the guy goes, yo, your name's Brian, right? I was like, yeah. And he's like, you're the guy from New Jersey with the gym. I'm like, yeah. He's like, yeah, I follow you. And Jimmy again is like, this is stupid. So like, I get known more outside of this area than I do in this area.
Let me ask you something. What? I saw you followed by Johnny Bones.
Yeah.
How'd you get that?
All right. So John Jones, he's actually, he'll be in town next week. Originally, he was going to use Killer B for his warm-up for the Madison Square Garden.
2 weeks, no?
Yeah, he was going to come here, but somebody threw a lot of money at him to go somewhere else, and I was like, I can't pay you, so we're good. But his manager is Malky Kala, Abe Kala, and Primo. Those guys manage some of the fighters that I train. So we have mutual management, and they introduced me with him 2 years ago is when we really crossed. I was actually, when he won the title, he won it in Newark, when he knocked out Shogun for the belt, I was there. I had a fighter that night. I was there with him when he won that night, and I knew guys that were on his squad that day. So this is like 3 degrees of separation in this sport. It's a very pedestrian sport. MMA is different than, say, NFL. Like, you're never going to walk into a football facility and Tom Brady's having a catch with somebody. Right. But literally, you can walk into a martial arts school and an international level UFC fighter will be taking class. Like, that happens all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I literally left the gym right now. I have a 3-time Olympian, 15-time All-Africa champ, UFC heavyweight, taking my fundamental kickboxing class right now. He's my guy. You know, so like 2 weeks ago, we had an Olympian, 2 All-Americans, a UFC athlete, a Dana White Contender Series vet, a silver medalist in the World Games in Greco, like all just training in class. Because this
Fundamental class.
Yeah, because they're world class in one thing, but they still have other skill sets they have to develop. So,
right.
But our system works, and we run things a little bit different. But so people are like, wow, but I'm not wow, because at 24, it's what I knew I was going to create. So it's just validation of the intention. It's not like, yay, let's high five and celebrate. It's what I expected of myself.
Right.
And so it's not, I don't have a lot of necessarily pride in it. I have satisfaction in the development of it. So that's the thing. I started in this place and I saw the world and then I saw the gap. That's the one thing is I have a very specific idea of if you want to be in the 1%, you have to abandon the habits and the practices of the 99. So I always see what people are doing and then I say, okay, where's the gap between them and the next level? And I say, well, I'm going to fill that gap and I'm going to go to the next level. So if I get involved in something, I don't want to be popular in the herd because that means I'm not successful. That means I'm average. And I'm not saying I have this thing where I have to be famous per se, but I enjoy doing things at a higher level. I don't find comfort in average. It's just not in my DNA. I don't want to be average.
Right.
So like if I build something, like we're sitting here at B-Lab, this is a very different space. I could have literally just made an average thing. I mean, but I took time and I designed it. And I wanted to express something with it because that's what I enjoy. Like I'm not copying someone else's playbook. I took ideas from places. We all steal from everything. We're all a collection of our experience. So this is a collection of experience in a way that created something that I felt was unique for the area. And I felt there was a gap. And now I just have to keep pushing until people realize that there's that gap. Because that's the problem with the herd. The herd doesn't realize there's a gap. They are finding comfort in being in the herd and they think they're like supremely right. Well, everybody's doing what we're doing. We're good.
Right.
You know, but then you come along, you're different and they go, wait, they don't understand what you're doing. So you get judged and now you got to decide, do I keep going until enough of them get it that this now is viable? You know, can I say fuck you and keep going? And that's where now you find out you're an entrepreneur or not.
You were saying something very interesting about the Japanese culture.
Which part?
How when you go off the beaten path,
yes,
they look down on you.
Yes.
Unless you're successful.
Exactly.
And I think that we kind of share that same thing in the Western world, but it's just not like as.
We don't shun the failure. There, if you try the beaten path and you fail, they don't have open arms like come back to me. Where our society has like we find comfort in other people's failures because of our own. Where there, if you fail, you fail.
Right.
Like you're in the wilderness alone now.
Right.
You went against us. Where here it's like, you failed, just come home. You're gonna grow up and be like us now, right? Because I feel that most people don't have the confidence to try. They have the complacency thing down really well. They like just not rocking the boat. So if they're like, are you ready to stop rocking the boat? Come home. Just come home. Like, come look like us again, you know?
Right.
And that's the difference. Where there, they'll never talk to you again and it's okay.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Have you
like,
seen it?
Yeah, I've seen it many times. I have many friends that had to leave the country and come here because they can't hack it there because they're no longer Japanese enough to be in Japan, but they're Japanese enough to be unique here.
Give me an example of this.
One of the best examples is Yoshida Yonezuka is like one of the greatest judoka of his generation.
What's a judoka?
Does judo. He's an All Japan judo champ. He's the captain of the All Japan, the Japanese university national team. He's like the best guy. But he likes Charles Bronson and Western movies at the time, and he's a little bit too Western. And his dad goes to him and he goes, "You'll never make it here. You're too different. You got to go somewhere else. You're Japanese enough to be unique somewhere else." So he moves to America and he opens up a judo club in Cranford, New Jersey, and he created like a judo powerhouse that created more Olympians than any other club did in the United States. He passed away a couple of years ago. But he went through this in the 60s. Like it's a cycle of guys like this, but he's the prime example where I see someone that he was too Western for Japanese culture, but he was Japanese enough in Western world to where like he understood us enough, but he also was unique enough that he can carve a niche for himself. So if you go off into the wilderness and you can sell the difference, you're good. I mean, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu was basically the Gracie family runs into, oh my God, it's late, my brain's not working. But the guy that teaches the Gracies was a guy who was a judo player. He starts doing judo for money and they kick him out because he went a different route. They said, no, you broke the rules, so you're out. And then he goes to Brazil and then he becomes like super successful teaching them. So if you get shunned by where you come from, it doesn't mean you're dead, it just means you're dead to them. But if you become famous enough, they're going to want you to come back because they're going to want to clout chase you.
Oh, so they brought him back?
Well, I mean, Yanni, the Japanese national team, would come and train with him because his judo was that good. They weren't going to give him a club in Japan, but they would come and see him here, you know? So that's the thing where like you'll get the love of your people, but they still don't want you to live at home because you're too different for them. So I find that when you have the audacity to try, audacity is such a thing. I had this conversation yesterday. Somebody was trying to tell me that fight sports are gladiatorial. And I said, not at all. I said, the reason why fight sports are so popular, boxing and MMA, I'll say in particular, the fans love it because it's people that are willing to do something that they don't have it in them to do. That's all it is. The way we entertain ourselves is basically, it's like adventure porn. It's like everything that we don't have the balls to do, we want to watch somebody else do it so that we can get some idea of it. Maybe we'll dream about it. You know, maybe we'll be able to distract ourselves with someone else's adventures. I don't like that. For me, I want to have the adventure. And that's just what's made my life what it is.
Wow, that's incredible.
But it's just, I don't know where it comes from. I was the kind of person that if I read a book, I would literally call the author. I read a book in high school and Tom Brown wrote a book. I found out he lived in New Jersey. I got every phone book in New Jersey, found every Tom Brown and called until I found him. And then he told me my biology teacher was his best friend. And then I went and talked to my biology teacher and eventually I actually met the guy and then I had lunch with him and then I did some projects and stuff with him and I was able to meet him. I saw a VHS tape of a event in Denver, Colorado for fighting. I said, I think I want to do this. And it was this crazy, scary, full contact event. And I tracked the school down. I called them up, the people that organized it. I said, I want to do it. And they said, send us the tape of your stuff. And then in 1999, I flew out to Denver, Colorado and fought in the Spocky Challenge. Like, I just don't have a separation. I feel like people are people. I don't care if you're on TV. I don't care if you wrote a book. I don't care if you're famous. I don't care who you are. You're just a person. So there's no gap for me. Like,
it's real.
But if a famous person walked in, if Robert Downey Jr. walked in right now and he sat down, I'm not going to be starstruck. I'm like, oh, you're that guy I've seen do whatever. I can have a conversation like this with him. There's just some weird disconnect with me from like the starstruck aspect of stuff. I just don't have it.
Well, it's only natural.
Some of us are starstruck horribly and can't talk. Like, I've never met somebody that I felt like, oh, you're I don't know, elevated, different, whatever. I just feel like we all breathe the same air, man. We're good. Like, you're just somebody that did things in a way that puts you in the position you're in. We're cool. Like that's why. So
wait, can I circle back on something?
Sure.
So you said that so you had this vision. You come back from Japan, you're fighting in all these promotions. You come back and say, I'm 24, I want to open up my own spot. Mm-hmm. And you're reading the Japanese newspaper and you said, I want to get here. Turns out UFC becomes the biggest item you said you trained, what, 8 UFC fighters?
9, 10 of them, yeah.
Right. So now you're looking back at it today and you're not wowed because you already saw it.
Yeah.
But aren't you wowed how real manifestation is? Because I could relate in a sense where, let me circle back. So I started a coffee company when I was 19. I got back from Israel. And it was a surf cultured coffee company. It was called Rasta Blanca. I just got into reggae music at the time. And it's funny, I was playing a gig with a couple of my friends, and it was like a small little event, like probably 50 people. And the MC tells me, you know, what's your band name? And my dad hears it and he goes, I was like, Dad, White Rastaman? And he's like, no, Rasta Blanca. I was like, yeah. So that's how it started. And so yeah, I ended up jumping into the business without any knowledge as far as from a business standpoint. And it failed miserably. And I started another thing and I failed. And then I was like, fuck it, like I gotta get a job. My brother's like saying, like, get it together.
What's that failure doing to you though? What is that failure? What happens, that first failure, what happens? Like, what are you feeling?
It's beating me down.
Like, why though? Where does that come from? Like, is it like, oh shit, I'm broke? Or is it like, my idea is not resonating? What's happening? Like, what's that feel like?
Listen, like from a creative standpoint, if I'm playing the guitar, if I'm drawing something, there's no losing because I'm not showing it to anybody. I'm not selling it. But when it comes to business, like that's always been my biggest challenge. It's like balancing passion and making it work from a business standpoint. So that's where I struggled. And there was a couple times.
Do you feel, so though, like your first one fails, do you feel like people are not getting the vision? Like what are you feeling like? Are you feeling like this is my passion and the thing I want to do and the world's not getting it? Or is it something else? Like, or is it like I burned a bunch of money, fuck, I need that back?
I didn't care about the loss of money. I thought it was a cheap lesson at the time.
Okay.
Like I kind of knew that.
Okay.
But I knew, like, and I did feel that the brand was resonating with people. Like I was definitely connecting with a shit ton of people. But I just bought the wrong product at a bad price. So it was a technical problem. It was a business problem.
So it was technical.
I didn't know who I was targeting. Like I bought 12-ounce bags of whole bean coffee, trying to sell it direct to consumer. Nobody's drinking nobody has a fucking grinder in their house.
Yeah.
So then I started going to coffee shops. I got a couple accounts, but like you're selling a 12-ounce bag. Now I'm in the business, it's a 5-pound bag. And you gotta be priced correctly, obviously.
But the thing is, but this is great. So you have a passion, you have an idea, you say, fuck it, I'm gonna go for it, you get your ass kicked, but you learn.
I learned.
And then what do you do next?
I get a job.
Okay. Do you feel like you quit?
Now I'm in the box.
Do you feel like you quit?
I didn't have a way out.
Okay.
I didn't have a way out.
You had to work.
It was going nowhere. I wasn't confident to raise money. So I kind of just took the loss and took a leap of faith, jumped into the work world. I was doing Amazon at the time. And I was in the box. I shaved my head. Yeah. It was a crazy time for me, but I knew it wasn't going to last forever.
But you knew you had to do it.
But I knew I had to do it. And I had to learn how to get disciplined. And I needed to learn how to communicate from a business perspective and think like a businessman.
Yep.
And thank God, like the company kind of gave me the freedom to like take a division, make my own decisions, get involved in the production to some degree. So that was very healthy. But now, little did I know, Rasta Blanca opened up some doors for me. One of the guys in the community, I think I mentioned this to you in the shop, but I'll say it again. He wanted to build a coffee shop from an education standpoint. He wanted it to be like a library, come read, drink coffee, communicate, great. So I said, call me when you're serious. And that was in the Rasta days, right? And every couple months he would...
Why does he take notice to you?
Because he knew I was in the business. And
But what makes him take notice? Not just see you, but take notice of what it is. Like, because it's like there's a lot of people in a lot of business, but what made him stop and say, hey, when you're ready to get serious, give me a call?
Yeah, I think he was looking for someone outside the box who wasn't going to be satisfied with...
So that's the thing. We're like, so you have this creative project that in a lot of ways fails, but it only fails because you don't have the technical understanding of it. But you've got a vision and a passion, and like there's intangible qualities there, and really good business people, leaders, investors have the ability to recognize that.
Right.
And that's their strength. They let you be the talent, and they recognize it, and then they channel it into something.
It's kind of like you were saying, you saw talent in people, you didn't think you were going to take it to that professional level. Yeah, so anyways, like every couple months he would follow up, and I was like, listen, like I'm content in this job, but like, I was like, I'm always down to consult. So then he calls me, I'm just getting off the wake surf boat. And he's like, come to my house, I want you to meet my partner. I'm like, okay, cool. I didn't think it was gonna go anywhere, but I'm like, boy, just drop me off. He lives in West Islanders.
Okay.
We jump on his like little pontoon boat. I meet his partner, Isaac. And he's the main man at...
I grew up in West Islanders.
Yeah, so Isaac's the main guy. So I met Isaac, there was an instant vibe there, and we walked into the shop, and it was Urban Pops at the time. It was like a pop store, like ice cream.
Yep.
And it was all pink walls, and we just started dreaming. And again, like I was just kind of consulting, like we were hopping on calls every Friday, but I was still working my job. Like I was dedicated. Like I was trying to, like, it was day by day.
It's hard too, because when you have a dream and it doesn't work out and then you got to go work, it's hard to feel like, because in a way, when you get that job, it's a blessing and a curse, because you feel like, okay, I'm lucky I got this situation after that situation. And like, sometimes you're like, if I leave it, I don't know if I'll get back. That security and that comfort can be alluring at times. Like, oh, I got a paycheck. Oh, I got consistency. Oh, I got the discipline.
Right.
And that, again, that's like a security blanket. And then you got to like, oh, fuck, am I really going to throw this off and try again?
Yeah.
But that's
I was like,
the
fuck
spice of life, man. That's the thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So now I'm like, listen, man, I was on the phone with Isaac. And I'm like, listen, man, I'm leaving this job. Like, if you happen to have any cool connections, kind of like hinting, like,
you've been flirting with each other the whole time. Now you got to go out.
Yeah, exactly. So he was like, what are you looking for? Like, are you trying to be your own boss? Like, what are you trying to create? And it was very clear that our visions were aligned. So he was like, come on full time. Went to Barbados for 2 weeks, left my job, jumped into the office in Red Bank. The point I'm trying to come to right now, it was a 7-month process, roughly, between building the space conceptually and physically until opening day. We opened June 27th. And throughout this whole time, I'm like, there's no way that this is actually gonna work. Like, I failed too many times.
Yeah.
I wanted to go to the army, failed. I tried building this business, fucked. So I kind of had faith because I knew the team was able to lead this ship from every aspect, business, creative. But still in the back of my mind, it was like, there's no way this is gonna work out. And I remember, so the first weekend we opened, June 4th weekend, July 4th, sorry, we got fucked, slammed. 300 plus people
oh my
walking
God.
into this 1,000 square foot space. We have no idea what we're doing. And I remember the guy that came to train us from Aficionado, that's our coffee supplier. He came to train the team that we brought on a week in advance, a week prior to opening. And it was the second day. The first day was like friends and family, but people were still coming in. The second day was 300 people. And Chris came in, and I'm behind the espresso machine, sweating. There's tickets printing everywhere. There's people flying. Everything's unorganized. And he's looking at me, and I'm like, Chris, like, get back here. Like, come help. Like, what, you gonna let me die? And because I felt that it was our reputation on the line, but he was like, nah, it's good.
No, it's momentum, man.
He's like, it's good. Just deal with it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay. So
that's like one of those ones where it's like you've had problems in life, but now you're faced with like the best problem ever. It's the greatest problem you've ever had.
The greatest problem ever, for sure. But yeah, every day we were meeting at the end of the day and pivoting. But about a month and a half later, we finally got some stability. And I remember walking into the cafe at like 2:00, and there's a line out the door. And I'm looking at the signage, and I'm like, holy shit. Like, wow.
This is mine.
Like, we did it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
We did it. And I was very wowed by the fact that we were actually able to accomplish it. And like, I felt proud in that sense. But I was more wowed in a sense that like, we manifested this. Like we kind of saw this. So manifestation's real.
So do you ever hear, so in psychology, they have a concept they call like the red car. So how many red cars did you pass on the way here today?
How many what?
How many red cars did you pass on the road on the way here?
I didn't see one.
Okay, but if I said to you earlier today, hey man, on the way over, tell me how many red cars you'd see all of them.
Right.
So I don't believe in manifesting in terms of like we're manipulating the universe. I think that when your intention is real and you're connected to it, you see the opportunity. So like the more dialed in you are to like an authentic idea that you connect with, the more you're connecting with the world through that lens. And that's what brings it to you. That's what makes it happen. Because if you're distracted, behavior is the biggest problem that we have. The majority of people that I talk to, I say, what do you want? They have no fucking clue. No clue. I want security. That's like telling me, what's the weather? It's a weather. Like, you gotta give me details, man. Like, oh, I wanna make money. Really? How much do you wanna make? I asked a kid the other day, I said, how much money you wanna make? He said, I wanna make $1 million this year. I said, how much money do you have to make every day to make $1 million? He was like, I don't know, what, $300-400? I was like, bro, get a calculator. Get a calculator. Are you kidding me? Every day, you gotta make $2,750 a day, 365 days a year. Profit after expenses to put $1 million in the bank. These are real numbers. Yeah. But if you have real numbers and you have real ideas, go for it. Our B bars, you'll like it. But if you have real ideas that you create that understanding of that reality, and you see that reality in everything. So when you meet somebody, like the calculator in your brain is like, this fits, this doesn't fit, I need to know this person, get rid of that person, I need to eat this, I need to run that, I need to do that, bank this, don't buy this, that. Like your whole life comes in line, but it all comes from having that idea. So it's the same thing. I'm looking at this and I'm going, okay, when I'm in the beginning stages, I have these high ideals and I'm crashing. My business was a fucking nightmare for the first, I'm in business 26 years. I think my business is still a fucking nightmare in my brain, but it took me 20 years to figure out enough layers of it where I could actually have a sense of like, okay, I know what I'm doing. I knew the value of what I created from day one, but the evolution of the process took a lot of time to like get all the nuts and bolts together, because I've always done this by myself, man. I never had partners. I never brought somebody in that knew better than me on how to do any of it. I always said, I don't want to have other people's ideas like contaminating this. I would rather fail and fix it than create somebody else's product, because this is really unique what I'm doing, which was probably my biggest drawback. And that's what made me take so long. You're fortunate that you had people that you trusted to be aligned with, and that's why your success is so much better, so faster. It is so much faster. It's great. But that manifesting thing, man, it really is important. I don't want it to come from like this weird, I can shape the universe concept that pisses me off. You can't goodwill your way or high thought your way. It's all about focusing on what matters. And if it matters to you and you see the value of it, it all does kind of make sense. If you're willing to do the work.
That's smart.
But you got to do the work.
I never thought of it that way.
But you got to do the work.
Yeah.
You can't fucking quit. And I love the fact that you said, in the back of my brain, I'm saying I'm going to fail. Because that's the other biological reality we face. We've got that mandibula back there that is telling us, this is going to suck. Right. This is going to hurt. You don't want to do this. You know you're going to fail. Why are you doing it? But if you keep fucking going and you fight all that negativity that it's pumping into your brain, then all of a sudden it starts to reward you. And now you're like, when you start seeing it, because again, it's that red car, now you start seeing the success. Oh, and now you start to get rewarded. Now you start to get belief. Now you start to get confidence. Now you start to get momentum. The trick is the old guy talking to the young guy. The trick is, are you able to maintain your humility through your success? Because if you start thinking lightning's going to strike all the time, you're going to try to do one thing's too many, and you're going to lose this amazing thing that you got. So you got to figure out how to keep this, grow it if you want to, find satisfaction with it where it's at, whatever. But like, just make sure that you never lose sight of the intention because you want to acquire more things. That's really what it comes down to. Like if the money goes beyond the borders of what this thing can do, then it starts to get weird. Like if you want to be famous, you're going to fuck it up. If you want to, like again, like when you have a business, your business can only generate so much funds, no matter what you do, you can only sell so many cups of coffee in one location, right? So you know if you want to expand it, you're going to have to open up more. But you can't expect to make more until you grow and actually do more. Where a lot of people, they try and extract too much out of a thing that only can make what it can make. And then you get in debt, and then it gets all weird. So it's like really having a satisfaction at the level that you're at. And then jumping levels, that's just a technical skill, but you've got partners and stuff too that are used to doing that. So like you're in a really good position. But it's the failure is so valuable.
Yeah.
And like getting beat down by previous situations. And then, so I hate losing more than I like winning. Like losing bothers me tremendously. I really hate it. But I love it at the same time because it's the fire for the next day. So if I lose on Friday, man, I'm a bastard to deal with on Saturday. Like it's double the energy, triple the focus.
Really?
Let's go.
Really?
Oh, I never want to be there again. I'm like, no, we're fixing this now. I hate failure. I hate it. I'm impatient with recovery. Like it's bad. But not in an unhealthy way. Honestly, like that's kind of my juice where I'm like, okay, we lost. All right. On the surface, I'm like, okay, cool. Good job. You did the best you could. But I'm like, okay, this is what we got to do so this shit doesn't happen again. I never want to do this again. Like I hate failing. I just hate it. I fucking hate it, but I know it's the process. And again, the Japanese way. So they have a saying, they say, get knocked down 7, get up 8. As long as you get up one more time, then you get knocked down, you still have an opportunity to win. And then the other side of it is like when you look at a champ, you don't have to be undefeated to be the best. You just have to win on championship day. Like you got to win when you get the title shot. So like you have to understand, like you're going to lose a lot of things along the way. But as long as you're learning and putting yourself in a position when the real opportunity comes that you're 100% prepared, you're good. Hate that failure, but fucking learn from it. Don't ignore it. Don't run from it. Don't lose sleep over it. Learn from it. Get fired up about it. It's got to be fuel. I mean, if you're losing too many times in a row, you really are a loser. You got to win at some point.
You got to win.
You got to win at some point.
Yeah.
don't enjoy the glorious failure. No, we're in the business of winning, and we've got to figure out how to do it. So as long as you feel you're getting better and you're moving closer and closer for it, and like you have goals where you say, okay, I'm here, I got this much time to get to here, and you feel yourself moving towards it, that's okay. That's okay. But again, it's like, this is the mindfuck aspect of it all, man. Everybody acts like, some people think things are too technical. Some people think it's luck. No, man, I really think it's just having the grit and the audacity is like the thing. You got to have that drive. And if you are self-aware, that's where I think it all makes sense, because I sense that you love what you do.
Yeah.
Like, you're not happy that you built a thing. You're happy that you built this thing. This thing aligns. This is what you actually wanted to build. And see other people connect with it is just so powerful.
That's the biggest thing.
Of course.
It's like people, when your mother walked into the space.
Yeah.
And I saw her looking at the art, I was like, wow, like we just created an art gallery. Not only that, we're giving a local artist an opportunity to be on our walls and get this massive exposure.
So my son and I went for a walk.
Yeah.
And I normally would go to another space, but we were at the park. I saw you're open. I said, I haven't been in there yet. And I remember when it was a flower shop when I was a little kid, I said, let's go in. And my son and I walked in, and Brian goes, Dad, this place is...
Brian B?
Brian Jr.
Brian B.
Yeah. Brian goes, yo, this place is really nice. I was like, yeah, this is really nice. I feel like I'm in California right now. Like, I'm not in Allenhurst. This is crazy. You literally took me to another place. And then I got the coffee and I was like, okay, the coffee is good. And I got it to go. And so I got it in a paper cup. Where you really got me is when I met you and I got it I actually got it in a real porcelain.
Yeah, with the
I was like,
coaster.
This is real.
Yeah.
Okay. So like the experience, the way you thought it through is great. Like, you definitely have dotted the I's, crossed the T's. Your vision is being fully enacted. And I think that's where the success comes from, is that you're not replicating someone else's thing. This is truly your thing. And you'll bring other people's ideas into it, but it's your thing. It's the accumulation of your experience.
Give a lot of this, all of this to Isaac. You got to meet this guy.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, he's most definitely the brains and the creative behind it. Happens to be we're aligned on many levels.
Okay, but think of the strength in that. There are things that we can't do.
Right.
So if we find people to do it, we technically can do it now. So you may not have been the person that physically could, or you couldn't conceptualize all of it, but you brought people in that brought it to fruition. So ultimately, the collaboration is what gets it done. So technically, you're still doing it. You're just doing it through other people. So that's, again, where the intention and everything's lining up, because you're getting the right people into the project and whatever. So that's the game. Look, the biggest struggle in my game is always people. It's always people. My fighters are all maniacs. It's trying to find the one that's going to like not go to jail or kill somebody. And then like trying to find coaches that are going to show up on time and understand the culture and have the right vibe. And it's that. I mean, my one coach, Jay, passed away, and Jay was such a monumental influence on our gym. Like, this is a guy who got what we did in a way that I don't know if I've ever had anyone else get it. And the impact that had on the community, to that they appreciated what we did more because they saw what it did for him. And you know, he passes, and now we're dealing with like, we have this hole, but we have this motivation because his legacy is like so ingrained in us. Like, the people are the thing. Like, when you get, like, it sounds like Isaac in a lot of ways is what Jay is to me, like in terms of like the culture and the development and like part of the glue that keeps it together. You know, being fortunate enough to find somebody that's glue and not like a match that burns the fucking place down, because that's crazy. Most partnerships.
Jay was incredible.
Jay was the man.
Yeah.
Jay was the man.
He had some fire.
I've never known. Okay. He came to me, he was like mid-30s, fat as hell. And his kid was gonna train. And then he heard me talk, and he saw what his kid was doing, and he said, I'm gonna try. And he was really combative, was not the most receptive, and I'm not understanding why. And he's a maniac at the time too, doing dumb shit out of the gym. And then he was like, you know what, I'm gonna listen to you a little bit more. I'm gonna try more. And then eventually we get to this point and we sat down one day where Jay and I became friends for real. He wasn't just a guy in the gym, and we became friends. He was just he was like just a dude who was nuts, and he was funny and entertaining.
Right.
He was like, you know what just happened? I said, what? He goes, I thought life was over at 35. I thought you don't do anything new anymore. I thought you just sat at home and watched TV and ate shitty food, and you know, your wife goes out with you like once a quarter, and you hang out with your kids a lot, and you drop them off at school and pick them up, and you go to work and whatever. And he goes, you just got the routine and life's over. You're dead. You're basically you're a dead person while you're alive. And maybe if you're fortunate enough to retire, maybe that'll be different. I don't know. And he goes, fuck man, you made me realize like, this is our life to live. Like we can do it however we want. It's not over. Like, he's like, fuck, I'm not even, he's like, I don't even know if I actually began yet. And then he just everything changed for him. Trained differently, lived differently. His wife and him have a better relationship. His kid and him have a better relationship. He got a raise at work. So he goes on a corporate retreat. The rule was you can't bring your family. And he's like, this is weird. They go, the reason you can't bring the family, it gets a little freaky. They're down in like Florida or something, and it's all the men, and they don't have their wives, and shit goes on. But they had a workout class every morning. Jay never went out at night, and he went to the group fitness class that he was the only one who showed up, and this one other guy. And they're there for the whole trip. And the guy comes up to him and he goes, why are you working out every day? I don't see you out with the guys every night. And he was like, man, I'm here for the company. And he was like, yeah, but we did this for you. He goes, no, I'm good. I don't need all that. I'm good. I came here to be a company guy. And then somebody comes up to Jay afterwards and goes, how do you know that guy? And he's like, I don't know. We were like doing yoga together or whatever. And they were like, yo, that's the CEO.
Oh,
he owns the company, bro. And he was like, oh shit. And then he got an email from the guy when he got home, and he was like, so what level are you at? Then all of a sudden, Jay got a corporate car. He got a raise. He got taken off. Like he went from like fixing boilers to being an inspector, like tripled his money, I think. He went from making like, I don't want to throw the numbers around, but he literally like tripled his money. He never made so much money in his life. And it was all because he just was like, no, everybody else parties, that's not me. I'm over that. I'm like, I'm gonna get healthy, I'm gonna stay focused, I'm gonna do my job, I'm gonna have progress, I'm not fucking dead anymore. Job changes, family's changing, he fights, has a great fight. And then I said to him, you need to work with that person. And he's like, but I don't know anything. I was like, no, they need to understand how you go about what you do. You don't have to know this to my level. You have to share how much you love this, because your love of this is what makes this work. And then he shared his passion. And then all of a sudden he's sharing his passion with everybody. And the next thing you know, we got like fucking Team J. It's crazy. But it was breaking that barrier of this is just how it is, because he was programmed to believe that. And then realizing as an individual, you can exist however you choose to exist. So again, it's that herd of the 1%. And he was like, I inspired him to break away from the herd and go for the 1%. And it was a hard break for him. And there was a lot of conflict that happened when he separated, because that herd wanted him. It wanted him really bad. But he was like, no, I want to be better than what you guys are. And so it created a lot of conflict. And unfortunately, you know, Jay's light dimmed a little too soon, but his wife, it's hard for me to tell the story. Jay was a huge fan of Willy Wonka, and his wife asked me, did you ever see it? And I said, no, I never saw it. And she said, I gotta send you a clip. And she sent me the clip because I had a conversation with her the day before Jay passed. He was like, I said everything I had to say with my wife. And I was like, oh shit. He's like, no, it's not oh shit. Like, we're good. And he's like, it was like the last piece. And he goes, like, I'm just not angry anymore. I'm good. He's like, I don't get road rage. I don't have to beat anybody else.
That's what he told you the day before
He dies. We had this crazy conversation where he's like, I've never felt so at peace in my life. And the next day he dies. So his wife sends me the ending to Willy Wonka. I've never seen it. And it's Willy Wonka and the little kid. And the little kid goes to Willy Wonka, he goes, what happens to the guy who gets everything he ever wanted? And Willy Wonka goes, he gets a happily ever after. And then they drift off into the clouds. And I was just like,
chills down my spine right now.
Jay got his fucking happily ever after. And that's why, like, when he went, my sense of loss for my friend is like deep. But I was like, that conversation made it okay. Like, he was at peace. Like, he hit a place that I think we all should aspire to get to, man. Where it's like, you've said everything that had to be said. And, you know, he still had things he wanted to do, and there's things we want to do. He wanted to be a part of this. Like, I wouldn't have done this if he wasn't yelling at me, to be quite honest. I was driving down the street and I saw a sign. I said, I know that realtor. And I was like, bro, we can't find a big space. What if I open up a little offshoot? He was like, fuck yeah. Why are you even asking? I was like, well, I don't know. Like, because I've got in the back of my head, this shit's going to fail, right? I'm like, oh, this could fail. I got to put all this time and money in, and it'll be this and it'll be that. And he was like, dude, shut the fuck up. He's like, toughest dude I know crying about that. Shut the fuck up. He's like, no, we need to grow, and more people have to see what we do, and you just need to go do it. And I was like, all right, fine. I passed this place on a Friday. I signed the lease on a Tuesday. I put my order into fucking China immediately to get all my equipment and all my stuff. And I went because I had that J energy, you know, like I had to go for it. And like, he was the kind of guy that, because he found his belief, he made you like, you couldn't not believe in your ideas because it was like disrespectful to what he did. And I still carry that. Like now, like when I see opportunity, I'm like, Jay never got all his opportunities. Like, I got to get mine. I'd rather fail. I'd rather try and fail than not try, because I don't know how much time I got either. You know, my dad had a quadruple bypass in February, and then Jay dies a couple months later. Like, to be faced with that stuff back to back. Like, my dad's fine now, but I didn't know for a second. There was 72 hours. I didn't know if I was going to lose my dad, you know, and then Jay passes from a heart attack. And I was like, holy fuck. And I always say, like, I'm 50, man. I've lost people in my life a lot. If we forget the lessons of their lives, that's the only like disrespect in the cycle, you know? Like, they all have a message for us. My stepfather was a massive influence on my life. He gave me a lot of confidence to try things. He died of Parkinson's, and he died early. He thought he was going to retire and then travel the world. And right before he retired, he got Parkinson's, and he passed away from Parkinson's syndrome 6 years later. And he said to me before he died, he said, don't fucking wait. Tomorrow is not guaranteed. Tomorrow's not guaranteed. Don't wait. You want to travel, travel. You want to eat. You want to drink. You want to go be a maniac. He goes, go do all the things you want to do, because I can't do any of them anymore. And the fucked up part about it was, he wanted to be a painter, but he had the shakes. He couldn't paint. So at the end, he wasn't physically able to do it at all. And like, that was the thing. Like, so for me, I'm like, every opportunity, like, if I want to paint, I paint. I want to draw, I draw. I want to fight, I fight. Like, I do it because I never know. I got bad knees and a bad back. I don't know when my one knee is going to go and I'm not going to be able to do this anymore. Every round matters to me.
Still fighting?
I'm not going to fight competitively, but I mean, I train with the guys. Like, when the spirit moves me, I still move. I do the best I can with what I have, and I just appreciate what I got left in me, you know, and I enjoy it.
But you're in a new fight now.
Yeah, my fight's to be the best dad I could possibly be, to be honest. I give a fuck about everything else. Yeah. I care about my kids more than anything. Building all this stuff is fun, but I want my kids to be happy and taken care of, and that's why I do these things now. Like, I don't do it for me. There's no glory in this shit for me. Like, I love what I do. There's satisfaction. It's not glory, it's satisfaction.
Right.
I'm going to the UFC in February in Saudi Arabia. Amazing, right? I'm going to go to a new country. I'm going to do this thing. And the whole time I'm there, I'm going to be like, I wish my son and my wife, I wish my kids were here. I wish my wife was here and they could see what I see. You know, like, that's the way that's the beauty of what I got now. And that is like, oh my God, I built that. My wife and I found each other and we built this thing. That's like, this is real. Like, this is real shit. You know, my son's crazy. He's my 11-year-old. We're sitting in a coffee shop the other day. It's fucking hilarious. We're in a coffee shop at Spring Lake, and these two old people off the side. The one next to the jeweler on Main Street in Spring Lake.
Is it the small little boutique spot?
Yeah.
Noon.
No, isn't it like
No?
Driftwood or something?
It could be.
I think it's Driftwood. So we're sitting there. My son starts talking about infinity and how nothing matters. It was hilarious. And we had this I said, so what matters? He goes, you matter, mom matters, my brother matters, like relationships matter because they're real. He goes, everything else is not real. It's all kind of like an abstract painting. I was like, wow. He's like money. It's just this thing we agreed on. He's like, how come this coffee is not like a dollar bill to us? Like, why is a dollar a dollar? Why is this coffee not a dollar bill? Like, why is this not $1 billion? Like, because we didn't agree to it, so it's not real. I was like, you're 11 and you think way too much. And this little old couple, they were like, you're an introspective little man. That was a very interesting conversation. I was cracking up. But it's like, but you think about it though, like what's real? Like your idea was real and you built this amazing thing, but it wasn't real until 300 people showed up and wanted to participate, you know? Yeah. You could have stood there in this thing with cool shit by yourself. It's real, it's a thing, but it's not real until like other people consume it and share it and talk about it, and then it starts to live. It has a life. And that's the whole point. Like Killer Bee for me, like the space, it doesn't matter where we are, like it means something beyond a space. It's a standard. It's a philosophy. It's a technical ability.
What's the like spiritual like integrity behind Killer Bee?
Do the right thing because it's the right thing. Have no excuses. And just don't quit because you want to. Quit when it's done. Simple. But doing the right thing because it's the right thing is the most important thing I've ever learned in my business. Because a lot of people justify bad decisions because they feel they're entitled to make the bad decisions because they may have a skill set. And I don't care how much money you have, how many people you've knocked out, or anything you've ever done, there's zero excuse for doing the wrong thing.
Do the right thing, like how are you, is that like
character
in the fight world?
No, in life, character and integrity.
Right.
Don't screw
and
people.
You're building that into your fighters?
I build that into my members. That's my entire MO. I mean, I don't think I teach people how to fight. I think I teach people how to be strong and stand up to the distractions and the temptations. Because the temptations are what break us all.
Wow. So you kind of took like the Japanese.
Yeah, that's what I was raised in.
Right.
And now it's just like I hand it off. That's a tradition is just something that you hand off to somebody else. If I give it to you and you give it to someone else, we now have a tradition. That's all a tradition is. People say traditional way. It's not a gi, it's not a uniform. It's a transmission of information from one person to another, generational handoff of info. And I had one of my guys the other day said, you talk about maintaining your humanity. He goes, but is humanity, like, what does that mean? Like, when is it good or bad? I'm like, it's always good or it's bad.
You mind?
I don't care. But as a human being, I hear this excuse. I'm only human. Okay, so you made a bad decision and you said, I'm only human. So you're saying, you're embracing the idea that humanity is inherently weak, so you're justifying a shitty decision. But I'm saying on the flip side, we also are extremely strong and resilient. You have to decide which human you are. Are you the one with excuses that's weak, or are you the one that says, no, this is the hill I gotta die on today?
Right.
You know, like, are you strong or are you weak? And it's that simple. And I think when we train, we're constantly faced with what kind of human we are. Are we going to be the one that inspires the guy next to us to do more reps, or to quit because I did? I never want anyone to look at me as an excuse to do the wrong thing. Like, I want you to feel bad about your effort level. I want you to think that I can outwork you, and I want you to be competitive about it with me, because I want to be the guy that makes you go harder and longer and further and have less bullshit in the way of what it is you want. It's not some noble, great path. It's just my fucked up wiring.
Right. Wait, so what do you think? Because like I saw a couple movies in the past, like karate movies, where it's all about respect. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I've been to like a couple gyms in the past. Mm-hmm. yours definitely stood out the most while I was training with Jay, where it was like I was learning real life lessons.
Yeah.
And it was through the fighting and through the challenges. But what do you think really like brings like integrity and respect for other people? Like, what's the correlation between that and fighting? Because you don't see it in the basketball world. Like I was on the basketball team my whole life. Surfing, you definitely get humbled and
Yeah, because you're fighting nature.
yeah, you're just getting pumped.
It's a monumental thing you're fighting.
Yeah.
It's something you can't change. You can't change the
But
direction
the
of a wave.
surf culture is not
It's shitty.
It's a very shitty culture.
Yeah.
It really is.
I think,
but fighting
but
is
all
a bigger
culture,
community.
but all things can be shitty and all things can be beautiful.
No, there's beauty to it.
But there's beauty in everything in terms of how you go about it. So I don't give a, I truly think the way that I am and the experience that I've had, I don't care if it's fighting, if it's business, if it's painting, drawing, I don't care what it is. I feel that I've just connected with the idea of those two different sides of being human, and whatever it is we do, we've got to pick which one. So this act of fighting in the beginning when I was young, it was all about winning. It was about exposure and winning and being the best. Why was not really being looked at. So I made a lot of mistakes. Damaged myself, damaged other people, put some people not on the best path probably because I gave them access to influences that ultimately destroyed them because the intention wasn't clear. But only through going through these things and having these things happen did I really just come to the thing. It's like, yo, I could walk away from this tomorrow and be completely satisfied with what I've done. Like, I'm not done. But if you said to me right now, it's all gone, you have to go do something else, have to. Or like, we're gonna shoot your wife or something. I could, because I'm at peace with it all. I still want more. I want a UFC champ. If I get one, great. I don't get one, I'm still successful at what I do. You can't take my sense of success away, because ultimately it went from the wins and losses and the dollars and cents to the people and the things we're doing together that resonate beyond the act. So if we do things in the academy one way and then it makes their life better in other ways, okay, now we're winning. There's this idea that, so when you drop a rock in a pond, right, it doesn't make one wave. It makes all these ripples and they go through the entire surface of the pond. So when we understand the importance of the decisions that we make and we understand that it's gonna disrupt the surface of everything we come in contact with, we have to disrupt that surface in a way that's gonna make waves that you can like ride, like you can get energy from, that you can do something with.
Yeah.
You don't just disrupt to disrupt. If you're gonna fuck some shit up, it better have a higher purpose. If you're gonna go and throw that rock in the water, it better make sense. So like, it's really the decisions that we make and the reverberations that they have are something that I try to be as conscious of as possible. So
it goes back to like, what do you want?
Yeah.
I used to listen to this podcast by, you probably know it. I think it was Earl Nightingale.
That sounds so familiar.
Yeah, it's like a 1 hour podcast. He's just speaking. It's not a podcast. He's just talking. And he's saying the successful man is the one who knows what he wants. And all you have to do is repeat that and really get to terms with it. But specifics.
Yes.
So what do you want? And what are you going to do?
That's the red car. That's the red car.
Yeah. I'm just like going back to what you were saying.
Yeah.
But it's all making sense now, because I'm a dreamer, and like, I'm not gonna say I believe in magic, but like I thought manifestation is like a magical thing, and like I could just meditate on it. And I think that was part of the reason for my failure in the past. Mm-hmm. Because I wasn't like,
you were just trusting it's going to work out because it's this cool thing that you see in your head, but you're not dotting the I's, crossing the T's, not putting all the right work in, but you don't know the work that has to be done. So of course.
Yeah, exactly.
It's unintentional failure due to dreaming.
Right.
Yeah, I get it. Been there 1,000 times.
Yeah.
I run headfirst into projects that I'm not ready for at times because the dream was there. But the only thing with me is I know how far I can go and I know how much I'm willing to endure. And that's why I don't mind risk, because I know like if you put me on a treadmill, I'll outrun you or die.
Think so?
You'll probably outrun me, but I'll be dead. Like, seriously, you'll outrun me or I'll die.
Right.
Like, I won't be like, whew, you got me. No, if I choose that battle, I'm gonna outlast you or I'm gonna die.
Why don't we try it?
No, I don't want to do that because I got bad knees. But I know the battles to pick for me and the ones I'm willing to die in. I don't want to die on a treadmill, man.
Yeah, me either.
I just don't want to.
Yeah.
I could, but I don't want to. But that's my thing.
Were you willing to die on in the ring?
Yeah, man. I was willing to. I mean, I've never been knocked out. I've been choked out. I've been choked out twice. I've never been knocked out. I've never been dropped from a strike. I've never been hit and put down.
Really?
Never.
By these big
I had my jaw
heavyweights?
shattered, finished 3 rounds.
Come on, but there's got to be a you get your jaw shattered.
I kept going. I got my jaw shattered, my teeth falling out of my face. I kept going, man. Then I had to get my jaw wired shut.
So Max Holloway, first time he got knocked out last week, right?
Yeah.
Do you think there's a mental thing to?
Every fighter that goes a long time without getting knocked out, when they finally get knocked out, then the next couple fights they get knocked out. Like if they fight 3 times, they'll get at least 1. If they fight 5, maybe 2 or 3 times, they'll get knocked out. Like it just happens. Like you lose the belief of the invincibility, and there's a biological reality of your chin goes. My brain's not okay, man. I wish I got knocked out because the shots that I stood and took, like I clearly have brain problems.
Right, like they say boxing is more dangerous, like for CTE wise.
Yes, 100%.
Than MMA, right? Because
Yes.
you're getting knocked.
Because it's a softer glove, big surface area, your brain's getting battered, you're taking this like blunt force trauma over and over, you get knocked down, they pick you up, shake you off, tell you to go back out again.
Right.
Like your brain's getting battered. So yeah, I mean, in kickboxing, your brain gets battered pretty bad. MMA is the safest on the brain trauma, and a lot of guys have horrible problems from these wars they've had. I mean, the guys that from the early 2000s, a lot of these guys are pretty shot. I mean, Frankie Edgar, I mean, I don't even want to know the problems he's going to have. I mean, he clearly has CTE from all the shots he's taken. But I mean, it's a brutal business we're in, but we know what we signed up for.
Yeah,
we know what we're doing.
Can we talk about the Max Holloway Topuria fight?
Okay.
I want to hear your breakdown.
You know what the breakdown is? Here's my breakdown on it. The saddest reality of that night for me was I love Robert Whittaker and I love Max Holloway from a traditional fight sense. I think these guys are top level, top 5 amazing guys. But that night was the change in the guard. Chimaev, that dude, he's the future of the division. And Topuria, man, I mean, he's the future. Like, that was literally the young guy coming in and telling the old dog who, and Max is not even that much, he's 32 years old. He's just been in the UFC since he's 21. Max is amazing. I love him. His skill set's amazing. He's smart. He picks his shots right. He just was faced with this young, brash, strong, talented guy who was just the youth on his side and the belief and everything was just right. And yeah, he had a great strategy. Max cut a lot of weight, you know.
What do you think their strategies were? I called, all my friends bet.
Yeah.
I don't bet, but they all come to me like before a UFC fight, like, what are we doing? And I called Topuria knockout round 3. He's gonna back him up against the Just look at his past fights. And
I'm looking at Max going, the traditional understanding of Max, I'm saying Max should win this fight. But then what's physically going on right now with Topuria, I was like, man, this guy is so damn dangerous and his hands are so heavy.
And
but he was great.
His guard is incredible.
But he was just like, I mean, he's not afraid to throw with you. His calf kicks are amazing. Just great strategy. He has very good people behind him. He's managed by the same guys as John Jones also. So we have conversations with the management team and stuff. So they're like, this kid is 100% the future. He's got a good head on his shoulders. He's smart.
Yeah.
He's thinking long term. He's not just in the moment. He has a career plan in his head. That's, again, having the vision, having the intent. He's not fighting to win that fight. He's fighting to win that fight so he can keep winning fights and stay on the path that he's defined for himself. He wants to be the greatest ever. And they all say they want to, but this dude's been with the same coaches. He has the same manager. He's got a discipline and consistency, and he's listening. Max is the same way, by the way. Max has the same coaches from day one. That's why he's so dangerous. The guys that jump gyms are looking, they won't take responsibility. A really good coach is a guy that's going to tell you what you're doing wrong, and you're going to listen to him, and you're going to work together to solve the problem. A lot of guys don't want to hear what they're doing wrong. They're just saying, fuck you, don't say that. Just show me what I got to do. But it's like, no, if you can't live with your weaknesses and own them, you're not going to understand what the game needs to be. So Topuria is like, he's an honest, straightforward guy with himself. He's very honest about where he wants to go. He's working on his shortcomings. He's got natural power. As long as he's got that power in those hands, that dude is going to be very hard to beat. He's hard to beat.
It's hard to beat.
I don't know who's beating him right now. I don't see anybody that I'm like, okay. I mean, maybe one of these Russian guys is going to give him a hard time.
Salyukov, something like that.
The one, if they bring over...
well, Islam, they might...
Yeah,
they can make that work.
I don't know if I'd go up for that. Islam's big.
What's he, 155?
Yeah. Or is he the 70 champ?
I think
He's 55 or 70. Yeah. I get confused with these weights nowadays. But yeah, Topuria...
But because it's a different style, like, we knew Max and Topuria were gonna...
They're gonna bang.
They're gonna box.
Islam has the ability to take you down. But the thing is, Topuria is really good with wrestling and on the ground too.
He is, but we never see it.
Not with a bigger, stronger guy. That's where I'm scared. Well, he would have trouble with a bigger, stronger guy. Like, his calf kicks aren't a problem on Islam. His left hook isn't going to hit as hard on a bigger guy. Like, his weight class, he'll dominate. He's good.
Islam's so...
The fight I wanted, though, the one that I wanted, which got blown out of the water, was I wanted Sean O'Malley to fight him. I wanted champ versus champ fight. That was the fight I wanted to see.
Getting smoked.
But I wanted to see that fight. I thought that would have been a fun fight. So, but yeah.
Yeah, I was very...
What do you think about John Jones versus
Stipe? Stipe is really before my time, man.
Greatest heavyweight of all time.
Yeah, that's what they say. I never really saw... I don't know his style.
I think John
But
Jones,
I want to see John Jones and Pereira.
I think John Jones he's done after this. He's gone. We're going to lose him after this fight. He's going to win this fight and go
got
away.
The inside scoop.
I think, well, no, he's saying it. We all kind of feel it. He's got so much money now. He's not young anymore. The thing about John Jones is he's such a creative fighter. A lot of guys are creative in a way that creates too many holes that an orthodox, disciplined guy will exploit. John Jones is creative in a really violent, narrow lane, and he's unpredictable with really dangerous weapons, and that's what's so hard, where you think he's going one way and then he goes another, and he catches you with an elbow, and he also is freakishly long. But Stipe hits so hard, but I think age and warfare has maybe diminished him. The two of them, they're two old dogs that are going to go at it. I think it'll be curious. I think John Jones knocks him out. Honestly, I think he knocks him out. Or drops him and then submits him, one or the other. I don't know. But I don't see Stipe coming in, keeping on his feet, and knocking him out with a right hand. I don't see that happening. We'll see, though. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm right, sometimes I'm wrong. I haven't been watching them train that much. I've been paying attention to the chatter, but I haven't watched. I'll watch on fight week, and my decision I may change based off of some of the ticks I'll see. But
so when my friends call me, I'm gonna hit you up.
Yes, you can hit me up. I'll give you. I'm not allowed to bet. That's the one thing, because if you have guys in the UFC, you're not supposed to bet. But I can give advice. I just can't put my own money down, because you can't have it. Because then you got James Krause, who's banned for life. I don't want to be that guy.
Right.
You know, I actually know James. He's actually a really good guy, and I think it was a rough situation that he got put in, but. Yeah, man, you dance with the devil. Sometimes you get burned. You know, the temptation of things can get in the way. But
I saw John Jones rolling with Gordon Ryan. That was something to see.
Yes,
Gordon
Ryan's a freak.
Seriously competing with Gordon.
Yeah. John Jones is a phenomenal everything. He's crazy. John Jones is mentally irregular.
Yeah.
He's not, we met him up, I brought one of my fighters to meet him up in North Jersey. He was doing an event, and I wanted to meet one of my guys just to talk to him. And he met Tristan, and first thing he says to him, he goes, "Hey man, what'd you wrestle?" And he's like, D2. He goes, "All right, I wrestled JUCO, and I never won nationals, and that's why I'm the greatest heavyweight fighter. I'm the greatest UFC fighter of all time, because I go in there and I feel like a loser every time I fight, that I'm going to be exposed. I suffer from imposter syndrome." And I'm like, oh my God. Could you imagine you're on the Mount Rushmore of MMA and you feel like a loser? No matter how much money you make, no matter how much you win, what you didn't do at 18 is what's haunting you. That's a message in itself. That's why that authenticity and that self-awareness is so important. Because if he got over why it bothered him so much and he couldn't recognize his greatness, maybe he wouldn't have had all the legal problems he's had.
Right.
You know? You could have been the greatest of all time without all the legal fees. Or maybe not. Maybe that's the fire that he needed to be what he is. And maybe he'll figure it out later. I hope he does. I'm the weirdo. I always have hope for everybody. Everyone's like, oh, why do you work with this or work with that or do this, do that? Do I believe everybody's going to overcome stuff? No. Do I think that everybody can? I think everybody has the ability to live the best life that they've ever envisioned for themselves, but I think it's going to be a very small group that actually do. But as long as you're trying, I'm willing to be in the fight. I love the battle.
Yeah.
I love the effort. And it's you shoot for the stars to land on the moon. That's the thing. You have to understand that perfection is the goal, but you're never going to achieve it and be okay with it. But you can never stop trying to achieve it because you appreciate how much further you're going to go by trying to be perfect.
Right.
Because if you accept that you'll never be perfect, you don't get frustrated by the fact that you're not. You get satisfied by how much further you've pushed yourself because of that ideal you're working towards. That's the goal. And that's why I stay in the fight. I don't win them all. I had a guy lost last Saturday. I got another fight coming up this Saturday. Who the fuck knows what's going to happen? The one we lost, burned my ass the whole way home. Drove the whole way home from Delaware. Motherfucker. But I don't hate the guy. I just hate losing. And so we come back in the gym and I grab the guy who's fighting this weekend and I'm like, all right, this is what we got to do so that shit doesn't happen. Yes, sir. Let's go. All right. We're still in the fight. We still have the mission. We're still trying to do it right. That's the thing. So if you had 3 people show up in your shop, would you still be in business? If on day 1, not 300, but 3 showed up, would you still be in business today?
I'm confident to say yes. Yeah, I believe we're dealing with that problem as we speak. I mean, we're in the off season right now and like.
Everybody went back.
People think, oh, like you finally caught a break, you know? Because summertime we weren't sleeping.
Yeah.
There was no drinking, there was no smoking, there was no socializing, there was no nothing.
It's just work.
It was work. We opened at 8, we'd get in at 7, and we closed at 4, but like we're on the computer, we're organizing, we're cleaning up. By the time I went to sleep, it was probably 10 o'clock, but like it was all grinding. Like hopefully we got something down the hatch, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And then as we like transitioned into the off season, that's when the grind really began. Like for the first 2 weeks, I think we got like a little lackadaisical, like we caught our break. I was in Cali for a little bit, like just chilling out. But
then you come back to reality.
Then you come back and we're like, here's the challenge, is the concept in like Kabbalah. Isaac was actually telling me, he's like, you have an idea, and you start to see some success. And then there's a concept called tzimtzum. It's like when, it's a Hebrew word. It's like when, like there's like a cloud of darkness, which includes all the doubt, and it manifests itself in a physical way. Like now we're not seeing it, you know, we're in a slow season.
Yep.
But the vision is clear, and the vision goes way beyond doing business. Happens to be, it's not our main focus at all. The business is really just so that, you know, we could fund our real, like spiritual vision, which is to bring the power out of individuals and celebrate it.
Yes.
That's why we do our collaborations, from bakery to art, to bringing on live music, and creating a space where cool individuals could come together and learn from each other and grow together or separate, whatever it is.
Yep.
And it manifested itself into this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing, and that's why I said, when originally, the ability to have this conversation is because I was you once.
Yeah.
And to recognize the intention is important. And I think the message from this conversation is I represent longevity, you represent the audacity to try. I represented the audacity to try once, but I'm now the guy who tried a very long time ago. There's value in how I did it, but I think now, 26 years deep into my business, like having the ability to say that I've been doing it that long, it holds more weight than saying I had the ability to try when I was young. Now it's like someone like yourself that is like, hey, yours was not the last generation to have the balls to try. We still are here. We still are trying to do things. We still have good intentions. Because I hate when people shit on generations. I love to see somebody that I'm like, you're a 22-year-old that the world is saying your generation was Z or whatever, and like you're a loser and you're distracted and you have dumb dreams and you can't be grounded. I'm like, some, but mine did too. We were all that way to a degree.
Right.
Like we have different challenges, but there's still a connection with the idea of community and clarity and quality and actually building and doing and all these things. They never leave. And then some people latch onto them and then they bring people together and they get projects going and okay, great. Now you have a blueprint for the next generation if you stick it out for 26 years. Maybe not with this brand, maybe with this brand, but you stay the entrepreneur. You stay the dreamer who finds the practicality to bring the dream to fruition. That's the blueprint you pass off, and then somebody else does it. They might do it with a sneaker brand, or they might do it with a bakery or a restaurant, or who the fuck knows. But like somebody will do it. You run a coffee shop. I run a martial arts school. It's the same damn story. My friend Shane comes on. He runs a barbershop. Same story. My buddy Mike runs a physical therapy office. Same story. We all were like in the conventional, stuck in the box, wanting to do something else. We figure out who we are, and then we try, and then we develop these things. And all these things are groups of people coming together, and they come to the well, they get what they need, and then they go out into the world better for it. And it's like, that's why like the people that I resonate with most are ones that it's like, they don't just do a thing. It's not transactional. The transactions are there so we can keep doing this.
Correct.
But
they fuel them.
We tolerate the transaction to do what we do. We don't do it for the transaction. And that's what makes it cool to me. And that's where you can find success on so many levels. So Sam, we've been talking for a while. I really enjoyed the conversation. The story's great. Your company's great. The audacity at your age is inspiring. I mean, it's the funny part about it is it's like I can look and say, oh, we're good because we have a next guy. But at the same time, to see the energy makes me keep going too. So, because I'm not dead. I'm fucking 50, man. It's not that bad. I got a lot of time left. But it's like the communal energy of creation is awesome, and it keeps fueling me along too. And yeah, I think we have a lot of opportunities to collaborate on ideas to help other people connect with their intentions, and so our two businesses can inspire other real businesses, because there's so much corporate shit out there. We need more real human stuff.
Yeah, I get that all the time. People are coming in and they're like, I don't want to be at a Starbucks. Like, I want to be at a real spot.
Yes.
What do you think about a coffee bar over here? Now that we
I want to put a coffee bar here, but like, think about this, man. This isn't CKO. This isn't Rumble. This isn't Sweat 440. This isn't Planet Fitness. This is Built Like a Boxer. This is a personal project of mine. This is like, my athletes are coaches here. I have other specialty coaches here. Like, this is my philosophy in a different format. So you come here and it has a creative feel to it. And that's why if you put a coffee bar in here, it won't be like we put a Starbucks on a rest stop. It'll be a real thing in a real place with a real feel. And that's what's awesome, is when we can bring that together.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's what's cool. So yeah, so we'll definitely have collaborations to announce. And yeah, we should definitely do another conversation. Maybe the next one we'll do it at your shop.
Love it.
Awesome. Sam, thanks for coming, my man.
Let's go.
This is the Hive 2.0. Sam Shabot, Brian Wright. Peace.
Peace.